Hey everybody out there, my name is Dragnix, and yes, you get to see my ugly mug for once on camera here. First, yes, I need a shave. Yes, I need a haircut. Been sort of busy with the whole YouTube thing, putting in 60 to 80 hour weeks on reviews and things like that. And I think the quality of the videos that I've put on the channel have shown that over the last several weeks, months at this point. But that's not what I'm talking about today, at least to begin with. And I know that my content is usually edited and not having me on camera, but this is a little bit different because this has to do with YouTube copyright. Yes, even the small channel now has to deal with this bullshit. Now, not to say that I haven't dealt with it before. I've had claims against the Sonic Boom video, against the Alone in the Dark Illumination video of all things, and all of them have been resolved in terms of, yes, the copyright claim was invalid and I do own the content in question in terms of the review or anything along that line. Star Fox Zero, apparently, on the other hand, is not the same case. Friday morning, I received an email from YouTube indicating that the counterclaim that I put in when I first put up the review had been rejected by Nintendo, meaning that they believed that the content was rightfully theirs and that the monetization will be under their portion. Now, I'll get into what I can do later on in that, but I want to give a little bit of context of what went into that video, because I think people don't understand the amount of effort that a review can take, and in particular, that review. I got some note cards here, by the way, to make sure that I actually give you guys the information. I put a lot of work into my reviews. I don't just play a game and, throw in some thoughts and there you go, there's a review. I put a lot of thought into playing the game in different ways, playing it with a different perspective, and in particular with Star Fox Zero, with the sort of negative initial reviews that came out, I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss something, because I was hearing this sort of back and forth, a lot of people hating it, but there was a select few that liked it, and really, really liked it, and got very angry at some of the reviews in question. Now, it's the online community. Of course, people are going to get angry on the internet. But in this case, I felt like there was something justified there. And so the first one run or two didn't go so well in terms of, oh, yeah, this is a bad game. But then it got better and got better. Overall, I put about, I want to say, 50 or 60 hours into that review. 20 hours in terms of gameplay and footage capturing. A lot more than I actually had initially anticipated, mostly because of the Wii U and the way that game was designed. All the audio coming from the actual gamepad and not noticing that at first. Yeah, that was silly on my part. I should have checked that before I did that. I had to go recapture a bunch of footage. But it was a 22-minute, 18-second review using 85 clips. And that was about 12 to 20 hours of gameplay footage that I went through. That doesn't include the script writing. That doesn't include the research done, the different types of options that I put in terms of the gameplay, and then, of course, the audio editing, the video editing, so on and so forth. Now, the video hasn't done well. 522 views isn't necessarily good for that amount of effort. And I admit, again, like most things on this channel, I wish it did better, but I just can't seem to get the audience that I want in terms of, a formal review. I like the video. I like the context of what I did critically regarding looking at all angles of it. And I really do think I gave the user all the information that he needed to make a decision. Nintendo, on the other hand, doesn't believe that that falls into fair use, apparently. Now, let's first get this out of the way. Fair use is a defense. Fair use is a defense when going to court saying, I have the right to use this content even though it is under your copyright because of reason X, Y, and Z. People are going to initially bring up, oh, Dragnix, you should have known. They're nefarious for that. To a certain extent, you're right. I know that Nintendo is nefarious for their copyright claims. With that said, there's a difference between nefarious and then what was listed via the Nintendo Creators Program and what I believe that they were trying to do. Let's be clear. Fair use is a defense, and in several cases, it hasn't been tested. Fair use has gone to court and has been tested in the court of law in certain cases. But with things like Let's Plays, for example, that is a gray area. When you look at the transformative work of a Let's Play, it does bring into a question, wait a minute, how transformative is this work? Does it fill in the initial, content in which the game is purposed for, which actually makes a difference when you are arguing for fair use. Now, in terms of my video, it was a critical commentary, okay? I am picking the game apart critically, telling people what exactly I thought about it. That is protected specifically in fair use. So I'm sitting there going, well, I have the legal portion on my side here. And to be honest, I really still think I have the legal portion on my side if everything was brought in terms of only factual information. Let's also be clear, fair use is one of those things where trying to describe it to someone who doesn't understand the system or YouTube may not work out the way that you want it to, because they may just, oh, you're stealing from someone. No, I'm not stealing. I'm using their content to critically evaluate them, but you're still using their stuff. You're stealing. That's what the argument sometimes boils down to. But what was the claim actually made on, you may ask? Because it's dynamic gameplay. I mean, Star Fox Zero, yeah, you can maybe do something in terms of an algorithm to determine, oh yeah, that's Star Fox Zero, there's the R-Wing, so on and so forth. It was actually the first 30 seconds of the video, in particular, the title screen animation that played. That was used in trailers, and I did not actually take the trailer footage. I actually recorded it off the Wii U on the idle title page. The reason why I used that footage in particular has to do with the fact that I wanted to set the stage. That is the information that most users saw going into that review. They had seen trailers, and they had gotten something out of it. Like, okay, there's an interest there, enough to watch a review about it. And the thing is that understanding that context, it sets the stage. It's like, okay, here's the stage of what you've seen, what you can expect in terms of, the footage and things like that. Now let me dive into the actual critical commentary, And so I put that out there saying, yeah, there was a reason for this in terms of the critical commentary on the review. It was purposeful. I don't think I used it in terms of, trying to make, like, let's say a movie out of it in terms of only showing the cutscenes. Because, yeah, that's a little bit more, one-sided towards, I think, the original creators of the game. You're just making a movie based on their content to show people at that point. You can argue back and forth, but I think that one's a little bit more clear. Review content, not so much. But what bothers me even more is that I made the claim right away. Like, okay, so my video hit the actual... I'm getting my notes out here, I apologize. It hit the YouTube channel on May 11th. The game hit stores April 21st in America, and even though it took me a while, I actually got it on May 11th. It took them literally up to June 2nd, or June 3rd. I'll show the email, somewhere in this general area, but it took them all that time to make a decision on this. And I was actually going to think, okay, they're finally going to just, they're not going to do anything. It's going to go, no contest. It'll go to me. I still lose the revenue based off that right now, which, let's keep this in mind. It would be 50 cents, if anything. 1,000 views on YouTube really sort of translates to $1. And so, yeah, not that much. That sucks, I know, but that's the story of YouTube. But it's more about the principle of the thing, isn't it? I did the work. I followed fair use guidelines. I followed the system, and this is what happens. Somebody from Nintendo looked at it and said, "Nah, you don't need that. I mean, that's our property." Now, you have to understand that Nintendo of Japan and Nintendo of America are two different things, and Japanese copyright law is a lot more different than American copyright law. In Japan, things are a lot different. Like, reviews aren't protected on there. There is really no fair use doctrine over there, with the exception of educational purposes. That's really it. And I've looked at it. I looked at it with things like some of the streaming issues regarding Dragon Quest Heroes for like Tech Raptor. And it is a whole different world over there. With that said, this is America, and the servers are in America, and the person who's producing the content is in America. Fair use applies here. I thought Nintendo would understand that. Now, is this the end? No. The way the YouTube copy system works, in copyright system, in terms of content ID, is that it made the claim on my video, and I counterclaimed it. That goes to the actual company in question and make the decision, yeah, no, it's still our content, or, oh, no, you used it in the right way. Now, I can now put in another counterclaim saying, hey, I still don't think your claim is valid at this point, and that goes to YouTube. Now, I have to put personal information in, my not license information, something along the lines of license information, which some people are worried, like, okay, you could get doxxed from things like that. I'm not so worried. I don't really get people angry on the internet per se, but it is sort of weird that I have to put that information in to make this claim. The thing is, though, is that it does put the channel into a little bit of a hole. The thing is, it could result in a strike. Now, most of you are probably saying, wait a minute, it's a clear case of fair use. How will you get a strike? I would like to point out that you've had, over the last several weeks, William Shatner's YouTube account be banned and taken off for a small period of time, but taken off for seemingly no reason. He wasn't active for 2 years. We've seen things like I Hate Everything, even in Feminist Frequency, had their channel removed for a period of time for an unknown reason. YouTube isn't exactly, I don't want to say stable at the moment, but following logic. And unfortunately, logic doesn't always work in these situations. It is possible I could get a strike, and that does have dire consequences for a YouTube channel. I couldn't upload the Star Fox Zero video at that point if I got a strike because it's over 15 minutes. I can argue all day about how this doesn't make sense from a YouTube perspective, a creator's perspective, when he's got a strike. Why would you shorten his content? I mean, what really does that do? Especially when you can just chop it up at that point. And yes, I'm doing the hand thing because I'm Professor Describe Hands, as some of my friends talk to me about Describe Me. Told you I would be a little bit off in terms of my descriptions here. But it punishes the creator way too much for what is really an issue that it's fair use. It comes down to fair use. I understand why the system's in place. You've got movies out there that, people try to upload full movies. They still seemingly get through. Like, for example, a gaming channel that I was looking at when going through other footage and found a Kitchen Nightmares entire episode. It's just like, wait, hold on a second. One, this doesn't really make sense for your channel, but two, what the hell? So the system is very, very broken. And it is easy for me to put the blame on Nintendo. They're the ones who made the claim and the counterclaim. And the thing is, despite the fact that, yes, part of that is their fault, I don't put it on them, actually. I put almost entirely everything about this situation on YouTube. And YouTube's utter disrespect for creators and saying one thing and doing another. Now, let me be clear. I understand that fair use and all the videos that are out there, YouTube is in this weird spot. They have to deal with Hollywood. They have to deal with, governments and things like that in all those situations. Things like Germany and their things that you saw in Steam the other day with like censored games and things like that. So they've got a lot to deal with. But my big issue right now, and my big issue with YouTube as a whole right now, is them saying one thing and them not doing anything. They put out a whole situation of a legal defense for fair use. They brought in Jim Sterling saying, he was asked to do this video on how they're going to defend and they're going to have a legal fund. And yet, when H3's issue came up, where they funded a whole legal defense via the video game attorney and things like that, YouTube was silent. YouTube had nothing to say. And yet, they're the ones who are supposed to be defending this, right? They're the ones who say they're going to defend it for everybody. And yet nothing. situations like, the fair use portion, like the copyright system. We've said that, things like WTFU and, I hate the stuff that grade A under A and I hate everything have done. What has come of that? They say they're going to change the monetization system so that it's in a escrow account. That's great. When is that coming? You said it's going to be implemented and yet gave no timeline. And it's just this. It's talk. And for all that YouTube says about, well, we value creators, we value everything that goes into this, community, they don't. They're a corporation at this point, and sadly, they could give less of a damn if you're a small channel or even a channel like Channel Awesome. They've had to fight these system problems all over the place, and they took so long. A channel that I think is one of the most early memories on YouTube for me of watching some of that content. So, what the hell? And what drives me insane, and what made me really want to do this video in terms of giving you guys this information, is what that does to a creator. It's really hard for me to get up after that information and say, yeah, I'm ready to make the next video, even though this isn't working. Let's be frank about things, guys. I only probably have 3 to 4 months left, given the current Patreon situation and the YouTube growth. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming YouTube for that. YouTube's ecosystem is, in my opinion, one-sided towards, clickbaity content and things like that. And I should have known that. And I should have done my research. And I know that it may not work out. And does that piss me off? Yeah, it does. I mean, it really pisses me off that doing things right seems to put you behind the 8 ball. You've got situations like the prank reviewer and grade A under A exposing channels like not Jinx, but his brother, and the rich white boy channel abusing tags. Something that's clearly against YouTube guidelines, where they put in things like Justin Bieber and all these types of cars. What does YouTube do about that? They brought that forward, and they are still running. They are still doing everything that they usually do. Videos haven't really changed either. So it doesn't really make a difference that you break the YouTube guidelines, right? I mean, why follow them at this point? And that's the thing that bothers me about all this. Following the rules in YouTube and following what you think are moral guidelines gets you behind. Yeah, clickbaity titles, some people are going to find that, less offensive than others. I find it, disgusting when you have a headline that has nothing to do with the video, that you're just grabbing it for the sake of trying to get people to watch. That to me is misleading. That to me is misleading advertisement, even though it may not be an advertisement. But that's my own morals, and I understand that. But when you publish a set of guidelines that you say your community has to follow this and you don't enforce them, why do the guidelines exist? And why will YouTube not say anything about it? Is it because the biggest creators break them all the time and, that's how they get paid? YouTube doesn't apparently make any money off of YouTube, even though it probably has other benefits. But I don't get YouTube now. I don't get the whole corporate mindset, which made me leave the software engineering world. I don't get why people who do things right are always the ones that are punished. I thought that's what you wanted. If you want to put a set of rules into place, then put a set of rules into place and enforce them. If you're not going to do it, why put the rules into place to begin with? And I'm doing my best to not get horribly emotional here, but you can see I'm sort of easing the line at this point. And it's frustrating because now I sit here and going, well, no matter what I do, it doesn't seem like I can win these battles. And even though my content has gotten a lot better since I started this channel, even though I put hours and hours in, and yes, I haven't gotten the attention that I think I deserve. I know that's sort of a selfish idea, but I feel like when I look at things like GameSpot and when I look at IGN and their reviews, and when I look at the similar review that I do, I sit there going, how do people You know, what are people seeing in this one that, you know, they're not seeing in mine? Is it too complicated for people? Am I not delivering it in a good way? But I understand there is something on my side that I'm doing wrong. But on these other issues regarding copyright and regarding, you know, YouTube guidelines, I just sit there and I go, how many other people are affected by this? How much of the YouTube community runs into these problems on a daily basis? And how many times can I hear that YouTube loves their creators via the YouTube creators Twitter account, and me sitting there going, you're full of fucking bullshit. I got a survey the other day from YouTube. A survey saying, "Oh, how do you rate your experience on YouTube as a creator?" And I luckily took the chance of, you know, airing out all of the laundry there. Like, you know, I think this site is a joke at this point in certain cases. I would love to see some competition. I really do. I do want to see Amazon's video service actually, you know, make a dent in your system, because you guys, like Steam, are complacent. You don't really give a damn at this point. And you want to make this site better and you want to make this up to the next level, then show it. Then actually do something about it. Instead, what you're doing is you're putting, you know, some words in for the cameras, for the media, so that you can seem like you're the good guys. You're not. And I know this is frustrating. I know that this is not the content that I want to produce, but I had to get this out there. I had to get my thoughts out there on what this kind, because I'm at my limit here at this point. I know I don't necessarily do the greatest PR work. I don't necessarily push the line in terms of, you know, when Reddit games thread comes up and I go, do I have enough posts to be able to post it on the games thread? And then, you know, it gets canceled anyway. You know, I am a conservative person, and I want to just make content for reviews. I don't want to do that in a corporate mindset, because we've seen what happens there. You know, too many influences, too many things like that. I want to do this on my own. And, you know, I admit, part of me has wondered, do I apply for GameSpot? You know, do I apply for something like, you know, Game Informer? Do I apply for something like, you know, a site that I feel is reputable? GameSpot may be a little bit iffy, although I still think, you know, there are people there that love games. It's just that there is this weird dynamic of, you know, yes, they don't do things great all the time. I don't know, guys. I don't understand YouTube. I don't understand what YouTube has become. And it's been like this for a while now, and maybe I didn't see it before, but it seems like it's getting worse. When I see things like Leafy is here on the trending tab of the gaming channels, that blog boggles my mind. Yes, he's got gameplay of, you know, CSGO jump maps in the background. He's not talking about games. He's talking about some cringy kid on the internet that he thinks is, you know, something to yell at. At least with people like Keemstar, when they're in that trending tab, they're usually talking about a CSGO pro at this point. And yeah, that makes sense. That is related to gaming. So that person can make it on there in terms of the tab, and yet a critical review can't? I've never seen a critical review on there. Even ones that get a lot of views. Even ones like Total Biscuits I've never seen on there. Is that because it's not popular enough? There seems to be other factors, like, okay, I see an 86K video that had, you know, 86K overnight, yet that one got on there somehow. I know this was a long rant, but I just need to put my thoughts out there and give you guys all the information that you needed. I'm going to fight the claim. I'm going to counterclaim it again and say I'm going to risk the strike on the channel. And lo and behold, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I just wish it never really had to come to this point, you know?